April 4, 2004, before the sun rose over Fallujah, before the call to prayer drifted across rooftops riddled with bullet scars, a single radio transmission cracked through the darkness and asked a question that still chills the spine. How long can a human heart keep beating when death is closing in from every alley? Operation Vigilant Resolve began not as a headline, but as a reaction. A surge of fury and resolve after 4 American contractors were ambushed and killed. On March 31, 2004, their bodies mutilated and hung from a bridge over the Euphrates River in a scene so brutal it shocked the world. By April 4th, U.S. Marines from the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, including Regimental Combat Team 1 and 7, pushed into the city determined to dismantle insurgent strongholds loyal to Abu Musab al-Zarqawi and other militant factions. And among them were young riflemen, machine gunners, and Navy corpsmen who had trained for urban warfare but could never truly rehearse the suffocating fear of narrow streets, where every window could flash with gunfire, and every doorway could hide an IED wired to a child's toy. The first days were chaos, a grinding advance through districts like Jolan and Askari, where insurgents used mosques, apartment blocks, and rooftops as firing positions, forcing Marines to move house to house, room to room, clearing stairwells thick with dust and the metallic smell of spent rounds. And it was in these moments that medics and corpsmen lived the most harrowing chapters of the battle, sprinting across open streets under sniper fire to drag wounded Marines behind shattered walls, pressing gauze into wounds while bullets snapped overhead like angry hornets. One corpsman later described kneeling beside a friend hit by shrapnel, whispering reassurance while insurgent rounds chipped away the concrete inches from his helmet. The horror of hearing a wounded Marine call for his mother echoing in a city that felt like a maze designed to swallow hope. The operation's objective was clear: regain control, capture or kill insurgent leaders, restore order. But the reality was a brutal stalemate as insurgents blended into the civilian population, launching ambushes and melting away, leaving behind booby-trapped houses where even a refrigerator door could explode if opened. And on April 6th and 7th, fierce firefights erupted as Marines attempted to secure key intersections, facing coordinated resistance that included RPG barrages and heavy machine gun fire from concealed positions. The crack and thud of explosions turning night into a flickering nightmare. There were moments of raw heroism that rarely make it into brief summaries, like the squad leader who exposed himself to draw fire so his team could flank a sniper, or the Marine who carried a wounded comrade through a doorway rigged with explosives, the blast tearing through the room seconds after they escaped. And there were moments of pure dread when units discovered torture chambers left by insurgents, rooms stained and abandoned in haste, reminders that this fight was not just tactical but psychological. As the days stretched on, the city became a chessboard of shifting lines, U.S. forces establishing footholds only to be counterattacked in the labyrinth of concrete. And by mid-April, political pressure mounted as images of destruction circulated globally, leading to a controversial ceasefire around April 28, 2004, and the eventual handover of security to the Fallujah Brigade, a local force intended to stabilize the city, though the insurgency would later resurge, prompting a second, even larger assault in November 2004, known as Operation Phantom Fury. Yet in the first battle, during Vigilant Resolve, what stands out is not just strategy, but the human cost etched into memory. The night patrols where Marines moved in silence past, burned out cars and shattered glass that crunched under boots like brittle bones. The sudden scream of corpsmen up, slicing through gunfire. The medics who ran toward the wounded, despite knowing insurgents, often targeted them deliberately, a violation of the unwritten code of war that added a layer of horror to every rescue. There were also acts of restraint and humanity. Marines escorting civilians out of crossfire zones, sharing rations with families trapped between fighters, balancing the mission with the moral weight of operating in a populated city. Operation Vigilant Resolve did not achieve a decisive military victory in April 2004, but it exposed the intensity of the insurgency in Iraq and reshaped tactics for urban combat, underscoring the brutal complexity of fighting an enemy embedded within a city of civilians. And it left behind stories that still pulse with suspense: the rooftop duels at dusk, the eerie quiet before a breach charge detonated, the echo of boots in a darkened hallway where the next step could trigger an unseen device. When you watch the footage and hear veterans recount those days, you feel the tension of every second, the way courage and fear coexist in the same heartbeat. And you begin to understand that wars are not just fought on maps, but inside the minds of those who survive them. So as you reflect on April 4th, 2004, and the opening shots of Operation Vigilant Resolve, ask yourself this: in a city where every shadow could conceal an enemy and every rescue mission might be a trap, would you have had the strength to run toward the gunfire, knowing the horror waiting on the other side? And what does true bravery really mean when the line between heroism and terror is only a single step forward